This episode is brought to you by Barefoot Dreams, guys. I'm sure you've noticed this season, my studio is just so unbelievably comfy. It's cozy chic fabric on everything. Blankets, pillows. I got their sign here. They make candles. This place smells great. And they also are doing so many cool partnerships. They make incredible products with Team USA, Barbie, Disney. Actually, you're going to see a little Team USA at the end of this episode. We got a special treat for our guests today. And I'm so grateful they're a part of this show this season because they really have made my studio not just more professional, but comfier. And here's the cool part, guys. You can make your life even more cozier by checking them out at barefootdreams.com. Put the promo code in, POPUP15, for 15% off your first purchase. Once again, that's barefootdreams.com. Let's get into it.
Right? At the end of the day, watching it here, what kind of flexibility does he have, folks? The bunny going through the valley. Let us see those ears, Bugs, hopping all the way. He's done it. The shoe is tied. This is it. Like, this is my fiance's like, stop doing that.
Guys, yes, hello. Welcome back to the Pop-Up with Paul and Friends. Thanks for coming back. We're here. We're hanging out. And as you know, I have people I admire on. I have people I look up to. I have people I think are very talented and funny. This guy's none of those. No, I'm kidding. This guy is... This guy's
all... started to get touched by that, Paul.
No. I mean it wholeheartedly. I love this guy. And when he walked in the studio, I was like, I've met you. I haven't. But he's one of those guys in this business you feel like, I think you guys also feel like you know him. I feel like I know him. I know I love him. And also just a couple amazing stats. I want to start with cancer survivor, stand-up comedian, former doctor. His resume is ridiculous. Amazing TV host and all things in between. And I love his spirit. I could tell already just from a few minutes being with him. Put your hands together for the very funny, very talented Matt Iseman. Woo! I meant all of it.
Dude, what an intro. That's very flattering.
It's
true.
It
makes you feel old.
Really? Saying everything you've done?
It's like, it's one of those things, and now get out of here. We've had enough of you, all right?
That is something weird about this business, too, the resume and looking back. We're always looking back on what we've done.
I know. It's so funny, and this is one of the things, like I talk about this, and my Hollywood buddies always say this, where it's like, if you could have pictured at the start of your career being where you are, you'd be like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But when you're there, all you're looking at is, but I could be here. There's got to be something more, because it's this business where if you're not moving forward, it's like you just never know when it's like the merry-go-round's going to stop. And so you're just like, whoa, this is so fun while we're doing it. Though.
Do we need that fear, like to be successful, long-standing like you and in general? Do we need to have the fear in the back of our head?
So here's what I would say. I have a constructive view on it where like I'm a pleaser. Mm-hmm. So what a job I have. My job is to go try to make people entertained and happy. And I'm like, that suits my personality. So this is kind of one of those things where you take something where like, oh, it's a little unhealthy, the degree to which I'm concerned about other people's opinions. Clearly, look at the career I've chosen. But it's like I'm suited to doing that. And so it's nice to where we found this job where we really get to be ourselves. In a hyperbolic way. I think we accentuate our positive traits. Like, I'm a pretty enthusiastic guy, so Ninja Warrior is perfect. Where it's just like, I know what I do. It's wow. That's essentially my job is to say what you were saying on the couch at home. But it's really fun. I feel like we're so lucky to get to do our job. Like the stuff we get to do is so fun.
Yeah,
and it's really been cool. Like seeing Ninja Warrior, which. When I first got approached for the show, I remember like, hey, if all the episodes in one season air, that'll be a victory. And here we are now. We just got the pickup for season 17 last week.
Wow, congrats.
Which is awesome. Yeah. And it's one of the things Akbar and I always say at the end of every year. We like stop and we're like, hey, let's enjoy this moment because you never know when it's going to come to an end. And so it's amazing to be going into season 17. And it is one of those things where you never know in your career, like where that, because when Ninja started, I had no idea that it would, it was on a network G4 that doesn't even exist anymore.
Right.
With no idea that it could become something like this. And so it's just fun where you feel like you're white knuckling, holding onto the rag going, this is awesome. Let's enjoy it while it keeps going.
It's also coveted in this business. And I've heard you talk about this a little bit, like, long-standing jobs in this. We picked a profession where long standing's really not part of what we get a lot of the time.
Yeah, you know,
Right?
and that's the thing. You see like hosts popping up, and he's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, he's hosting a dance show now.
Yeah.
Oh, it's cupcakes this week."
Yeah.
And for us, it's always like, "Hey." A lot of times we're like, we just want the platform to reach people. Where it is like, if it has to be talking about cupcakes, I'm happy to talk
Right.
about cupcakes.
Yeah.
Whatever it is with hosts, and I think for people like you know, there are people I think who also like Charles Barkley, who comes out of basketball, like, okay, talk about a perfect career pivot where, you know, I guarantee 90% of the people who watch him now didn't know he was a player or
Yeah.
certainly never watched him play.
Right.
And so, you know, but what a personality he has to get to do it. And
Sure, it's a good pivot. But I love the story about like going to medical school, like, and it's kind of
Yeah.
that classic, like that's the most long-standing job you can
Yeah.
do. You do all this work to become a doctor,
God, right.
And you're set for life. I mean, technically, you do make a good living for life if you're a
Yeah.
doctor.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And
People
you-
always get sick.
You know, it's recession proof. It's COVID proof.
Hey, now I want to go check out this comedy thing.
Yeah,
'Cause
right, right.
That's where, yeah, I mean, it was like on paper, it certainly doesn't make sense.
Which is what I love.
And here's the greatest thing. My friends, they love me, and they're like, Iseman, you're going to be a comedian. You're like the 17th funniest one of us,
Yeah.
which is true. I'm
Yeah.
like, I think I'm hilarious, but I know I'm like, no, I'm okay on the hilarious scale, but I'm just the one who, you know, jumped on the horse and came out here.
Sure.
And I so think also in this career, some of it is like you just kind of keep working. And, you know, you hear about the overnight sensation. Much more common is the 10 or 15 year sensation
Yeah.
where you've put the work in, you've been there, you've been close on a lot of things. And finally you get something and people are like, where have you been?
Right.
And
Oh,
you're like,
you're
I'm going to, you know what? I've been waiting for this moment.
Yeah.
for
It's
the
also
last
hard-
9 years.
Yeah, right. Speaking of like the resume thing in the beginning, it is hard ego-wise in this business too, because like you almost want to, you get people who meet you at that time, and you go like, well, no, I've done this thing 10 years already.
Yeah.
I know this thing, but you have to kind of check your ego and be like, I'm happy to be here, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. This
Yeah.
is brand new to me too,
Yeah.
even though you're probably very experienced. For like people kind of treat you when you get a big job. I feel like
It's-
oh, you're new.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's I don't know. I've been lucky just because so I did a show and the executive producer was like, Matt, just happy to be here, Iseman.
Nice.
And I think that's always been my kind of
Yeah.
approach where it's like you know, I left medicine a long time ago, but I remember vividly and viscerally the feeling I had going into the hospital when I knew I wasn't supposed to be in this career.
Yeah.
Once I really, you know, it was that feeling like the Sunday blues you'd get in school. And I just remember having that feeling going into work and, you know, a job where, what an awesome job. But I was like, this isn't for me. And I think I still remember that feeling. And that's why when we get to go to Universal Studios and we've set up this multi-million-dollar set, whole bunch of ninjas are going to run through. You
Yeah.
get the best seat in the house. I'm like, this is awesome.
Yeah, you have such a good perspective. on it.
Yeah, and it really is. It's one of those things where, you know, you can bitch about a lot of stuff because sometimes you get a little spoiled.
Yeah.
We admit it. But it is really good, I think, to just kind of always step back and go, this is ridiculous. Like
Yeah.
you know, I get to go on Kelly Clarkson's show and play games where she's singing.
Right.
I'm just like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's, I always want to make sure, like, I don't want to get jaded to it because it is like, that's why we came out here. Like, I remember, I grew up in Denver and entertainment felt a mile away, but I remember just like sitting in front of the TV transfixed by game shows, never thinking like I could be the guy
Yeah.
throwing the party on the game show. You know, I know people are like, wow, you know, you're really aspiring high there
Yeah.
to host
No.
tic-tac-toe or something.
You
But
could
it
do
was
it.
like,
You should.
it was, I think at home what I felt like is, oh, we're all getting to enjoy this together.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's what television used to be, maybe not as much anymore, was that, but that thing, like you go to school the next day and you're talking about the Miami Vice episode that just
Yeah.
came out. And I really love that kind of shared experience
Yeah.
that I got through TV, which is why it's such a kick to like be in the business now.
Well, that's also why I love Game. Game is such an
Yeah.
old standing, you know, fabric of America's game shows, you know, tuning in to watch the game show with the family. And in a way, Ninja is that for kids now, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It's nuts. I mean, it's nuts that it's like, it's a sport.
Yeah.
Kids now grow up not playing Little League baseball or Pee Wee football, but doing Ninja Warrior. And like we've seen them now get on the show and totally dominate. It's
Yeah.
insane. But it is cool being like, oh my God, we've had like a small role in this where Akbar and I are like, we're the voices of this.
So
it's like,
cool.
you're turning on hearing we're Vin Scully in
Yeah.
our minds, humbly. And it's really cool to be like the voices of something that's become a sport that very easily could have been, like a punchline from a
Sure.
show that lasted a season.
Sure. It's awesome, man. I love watching everything you do on that show. I am curious who you idolize. Like, if you watch shows back in the day,
Okay.
who'd you idolize?
Well, I really like sports announcers. Like Al Michaels, the
Nice,
1980
yeah.
U.S. Hockey. I remember that. Like growing up, like Dick Enberg or hearing Howard Cosell. There were certain people, like to me, even still, the number one guy I like right now is Kevin Harlan. Because like that's how I think a game should be called.
Yeah.
He's always got like this driving urgency to his calls, where I feel like at any moment, second quarter, in a defensive game, but you can every drive you feel like this could be the drive.
Yeah.
Kevin gives that sensation, and I love it. I'm like, okay, that's what I try to do.
You have that.
With Ninja Warrior, yeah. So thank you, but it's like I still love listening to a good announcer call a game, and it's interesting because now we're going to this model with like Peyton Manning, where now it's personalities enjoying a game alongside of you, which is fascinating too, and seeing some of these athletes who really like Peyton Manning have a gift for it, and it's also cool because I think all of us wonder, like, what does it take to be at that level? And even in our business, you're wondering. But when you see someone, it's interesting when you start hearing like Tom Brady or Peyton Manning talk about like their approach to this kid's game and just how methodical their minds are. And it's like, oh, okay, that's why you're going to be good at anything you do.
But your job and sports announcers and Ninja, you become a fabric of what we're watching, where it's just belongs. Does that make sense? A lot of the best voices just belong.
Yeah, it's what's great is like our show, there are no teams. So it's not as though, if Joe Buck and Troy Aikman are calling the Green Bay Dallas, half the fans think they're cheering for the other team, right? And so with us, it's like, oh no. We're not neutral. We're cheering for everyone who comes on there, and we can, because you want them all to do well, and it's not our money we're giving away; it's NBC's.
Right.
So it's really cool to be in that position where we get to be kind of like the cheerleaders. Like, we're the ones like, hey, everyone in America is at home pulling for you, and we get to be the ones kind of giving you that feedback or adding that excitement to your run. And so it's I think Opera and I both have that. Obviously, he played at a little higher level in sport than I did being in the NFL, as he constantly reminds me, like, I get it. You're taller and better looking, but you don't have to add you're a better athlete. But
the same job.
It's really cool because I think he too, his brother was like the all-pro Kabir, but Akbar, he always described himself as like a lunch pail guy, where it was a battle just to get on the field. And so I think he has the appreciation for like the ninjas, who are not necessarily those super flashy athletes, but they're the ones who just show up day in and day out and put in this insane work while still having a full life, a job, a family. And it, that's part of like what I admire so much about them, because I do not have that discipline where, they're getting up at like 4 a.m. to work out and then staying up till midnight and just doing it again. And I'm like, wow, that is...
I know, you hear like
I need my sleep.
You hear like Mark Wahlberg's workout.
Oh,
routine,
he always
like,
posted doing an
stop.
ice bath at like 4 a.m.
I want to, in my mind, I could do that maybe, but like I can never physically. I'll do 1 week maybe of
and like
early
he's
wake-ups.
got like hundreds of millions of, or at least a lot of millions, where it's like, no, you've earned it.
Yeah.
Have a cheeseburger,
Chill
Mark.
out.
You did it.
You make burgers, Mark. Have a Wahlburger.
Eat
for
one.
goodness. Jesus.
Yeah, no carbs for that guy for sure.
Speaking of announcing, you did remind me. You ever hear Howard Cosell's intro to Sinatra at the Madison Square Garden?
No.
You never heard it?
No.
Oh man, I don't have my phone. I'll play
I
it
would
for you
love
later,
to hear
but
Howard giving old Blue Eyes his flowers.
So they did an intro like a boxing intro.
No.
And he did. It was live on a live broadcast across the world. He's like, live across the world, celebrities are here in profusion. It's incredible. I'm Howard Cosell. It's unreal.
It's so interesting because like in the movie Miracle, they use the actual opening with Al Michaels and Ken Dryden. And you're watching Al, and at the beginning, like I open it and I'm like, hey, it's the 1980, semifinals in Olympic hockey. Al Michaels is like, this game taking place against a backdrop of political intrigue. Like, my God, this was like the Vin Scully poetry, like setting the stage for the game. And just, I think he was 29, and that became the call that, he'll forever be known for. But he is. Do you believe in miracles? That is if it weren't for his call, that moment, I don't know that it has the same weight. So that's the importance of announcers, not just the hockey team doing it.
It's writing, and it's also creating catchphrases. I mean, it becomes a part of culture.
Akbar's good at trying to do catchphrases.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them are pretty like, I see you. I'm like, that you didn't make that up, Akbar. You can't. And he did. He actually was using a lot of Mark Jackson, the basketball announcers. Nice. He was using a lot of his. And so it turns out Jeff Van Gundy is a fan. And so we'd be like out, and they'd be in the same city we were in. I think it was Oklahoma, or no, San Antonio. There was a basketball playoff game, so we go. They weren't calling it, so they were in the audience, and Mark Jackson was over. He's like, I'm a fan of the show, but Akbar, you're stealing all my lines. That's when Akbar's like, okay, I got to come up with it. You must have loved it. Hands down, man down. Oh, Akbar, that guy, what enthusiasm.
Yeah, both of you guys. I mean, watching you two, and I've met him, actually. I know I've met him. You both bring an infectious energy to the work, but also in person. You're happy to be here. You're fun-loving guys. That's what makes great TV and great shows. And you can tell you're real. I think that part of what I love about you too is a realness and a no phoniness to that. Yeah. Which you can come across a lot. That you're happy to be. Why not?
So Travis Masson is recreating 3 of Evel Knievel's greatest jumps one night in Vegas, and I'm hosting it live for the History Channel. And getting to call that, and so it was a 3-hour show. There was a jump at the end of every hour, so there's a lot of filling that I'm doing, and so but I'm excited. This guy's actually jumping an Indian motorcycle that's the size of a Harley, not these modern dirt bikes, but the old a Chips bike, like a monster bike. He's gonna jump at almost 200 feet. I'm like, he's jumping the fountains at Caesars, for God's sakes. He's doing all of it, and so I'm at this level, and it was Mike Calta who's a pretty famous comedy DJ guy, and he's like, this guy's so annoying, he's yelling. And I get back to my room that night and I see it, and I just replied, I'm like, you know what? I do yell, man. But honestly, I was really excited. And then he's like, oh, that's cool. Yeah. And then he has me on his show, and he's busting my balls. I'm like, yeah. I was excited to be there. They wanted that instead of the golf. He's going to make some big jumps. Today. Honestly, that's not me. I don't do the golf stuff.
Golf would be so much more tolerable if they hired you. That'd be incredible.
I don't know if you ever met my buddy Matt Rogers, who I worked with on Hallmark's Home and Family. He was on American Idol. We're like doppelgangers. He's a big, loud guy.
Yeah.
And we were just saying how he could have, he would have been. I would have loved to have seen him sing more. I don't know. I got lost my train of thought.
Well, no. You both. Maybe he does golf stuff, or golf.
Yeah, that was it. God, how did I forget that?
I got you.
So
I'm here for you.
He does he's the voice of the Tennessee Titans in the stadium.
Okay.
He just got invited to do Live.
Oh, nice.
And so Liv is kind of trying to do the waste management 16th hole, party hole on a lot of it. And he was doing it. And now he's going to go on the Live tour to host this stuff, because he brings a unique non-golf energy. Yeah.
Oh, that's neat.
And I'm like, oh, that's fun. Aside from the politics of whether Live should exist, which I don't want to.
We stay out of that.
We stay out of that.
We stay out of the politics, right?
Well, I do.
I do too.
I don't even want to bring it up.
Yeah.
Why did I bring it up?
Well,
anyway, I'm excited for my buddy.
We're talking about politicking, when the local school election, in my kid's kindergarten. That's what you're talking about, politics,
exactly.
Right? Yeah,
that is important
stuff. That's the only one. That debate was great. That was a different one.
Your kindergarten, it really is one of the best.
It's a funny debate, that one. But I like that also, because I think also similarly I relate to your stand-up and I've always tried to be a family-friendly guy myself with TV hosting, but also with comedy. Yeah. You seem that way.
Yeah, and it's funny, when I started doing comedy, my mom and grandma were coming to all my shows. And so that was kind of that always stayed my barometer. And my grandma had a much dirtier sense of humor than my mom. And so, but I also, it was also kind of a conscious choice too of, I want to appeal to as wide an audience as possible, to be able to work those shows, because I am most of my comedy's clean. So I'm all right, open up to those things. And obviously as soon as Ninja became big, then it's hey, that was, Bob Saget could get away with it back in the day. But I don't know if, the host of Ninja, particularly when you're doing the kids Ninja Warrior, if you're out there, talking about some, where people are I don't want to see that.
Yeah, well, you're right.
Not that you should be able to do that. I firmly, I don't do it, because I do get I like have shame. I get shame. Like especially if it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Like if you do something dirty and it doesn't work, you're like, wow, now I am dirty and not funny at all. The shame is coming.
I would argue it's harder to write clean and stay clean in clubs. Like when you do clubs and the cities are in, it's such a, not that it's easier, but I mean like it
a good F-bomb makes me
Yes.
laugh. I'm like, yeah, that makes me laugh. It works. It works on me.
I'm trying to stay away from the curse. That's the one thing my mom tells me now. Since I've moved here and done more stand-up, she's like, "You're cursing too much now."
You're
on
cursing
stage.
too much.
She came to see me in New York. I was like, "Did I curse a lot? I don't know. It was the New York. I was in New York. I was having fun. I was home. Just came out. I don't know." Who was it for you? Because I heard you say Will Ferrell. I know you were inspired by Will Ferrell. Also, Brian
comedy-wise,
Regan.
Brian Regan.
Regan's classic.
I remember the first time I saw him was at Comedy Works in downtown Denver, which I think that downtown room is the best room in the country. And it was Regan, and I remember it was probably 35 minutes into his set before I go, he hasn't cursed once.
Yeah.
And I'm laughing harder than I've laughed at anyone.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, especially like in those days in a packed comedy club, my God, would he just, because he can milk a joke. And just, he's just so good. He's so good. He's such a good example of someone who works so hard to appear so dumb.
Yeah.
Like with his jokes. But he like, that guy will sweat every word, and you just see him. Like if you ever get to watch, that joke, I see how it's evolved.
Yeah,
and you're like, man, that guy is down in the weeds, and that's why I just love him. I just think performance wise, we were at the Ice House's 50th, I think, or 25th or 50th. Anyway, and I mean it was all A-listers, all A-listers. George Lopez, all these, and Brian Regan came out and blew them all off the stage.
Wow.
And that's when, like, as comics, my buddies, PJ Batts and I, we were like the crew when we started out. We were all like, he did what no one else could do. We already liked him. We were like, that's the guy.
Yeah.
He's a made man in our books.
I always think about doing stand-up really makes, because, you know, hosting is a different, you can become a good host like yourself, but stand-up is a different measurement of yourself. Than hosting.
But I also think, like, when people say, I want to host, I always say, do a stand-up class.
Yeah.
And do an improv class.
Yeah.
I think improv is great because it gets you comfortable with nothing, which sometimes you have in hosting where it's like, okay, this isn't going as planned. That's okay. I can abandon the script. I'm okay talking about it. But stand-up is where you learn how to make it funny. And so I think it's, like, I love stand-up, I feel, keeps my mind sharper for hosting.
Yeah.
Because I think the best stuff comes. Like, you could try to write a wacky nickname or whatever, or phrase, but I think the best stuff comes kind of in the moment.
Yeah, totally.
And it's really fun when you're like, oh, okay, now I can play with that or go somewhere. So I just, and you know, still performance-wise for me, stand-up is the best. It's like you in a crowd, and people can clap, fake clapping, but they can't fake laughing.
Right.
And so, like, when you hit them and you're like, oh, they're going, it's like, I always say it's like oxygen. It just is so good to get that. And to me, that's better than, you know, any other response is when you make people laugh. Because I think it's the thing that just is, you don't fake. And so when you hear it, you're like, I got him. And it's such a good feeling.
Yeah, that's the drug of stand-up too, where you want to keep, no matter how much you get paid to do it or how big shows are, it doesn't. It's like the cup gets filled up, but then you're like, all right, it's empty the next day. I got to go fill it up.
I need more. Yeah.
I got to fill it right back up.
And the worst is when you bomb and it doesn't get filled. You're like, no, I got to get back on. This taste is in my mouth.
I've seen a lot of headliners in this town show up at clubs real late, being like, I had a terrible night earlier. Put me up. I need to fix this.
I got to change my luck.
Now, did you come out? So you left being. I'm just curious about your story a little bit because I want to know more.
Yeah.
You left and came out here to do stand up.
That was my thought. Like I kind of. So I was doing my residency and I decided I'm gonna take a break because I was like something's not right.
And this is a hospital.
This was I was doing my residency at a hospital, University of Colorado, and internal medicine, and I thought, okay, I gotta figure out because I don't feel committed. Something bad's gonna happen. Yeah. Whatever. So, and then I'm like, I didn't know what to do, but I was like, I felt it. I'm like, I've never done anything really creative. It was always like sports and school and work. And so I thought I want to do something creative. And I'm like, I did stand up a handful of times. I thought I'll go out to LA and just be stand up for a year and get it out of my system, whatever it is, and then come back as an adult and be a doctor and be responsible. And instead, within like a few weeks, I was like, oh, this is what I'm meant to do.
Yeah.
And it wasn't as though like with stand up, you don't. I wasn't killing by any means.
Right.
You're doing open mics where everyone else is just waiting for their turn, but like you just get a laugh. You're like, oh my god, that's. I always thought I want to make people feel better. I'm like, I thought it was with medicine. No.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make them laugh.
Wow.
And it was just like so addictive. And I was lucky. I kind of stumbled into TV commercials at a time when they paid ridiculously well.
Yeah.
And so I was making a ton of money within a few months of getting out
Wow.
here.
That's
and
awesome.
so then it's like, all right, now I don't have to go back. Like financially, I was making a lot more doing this. And I loved it. And so it was like pretty easy to, because I was like, you got to be realistic when you come out here.
Yeah.
You got to have like some deadline or some checkpoints to say, I got to show progress because otherwise you can blink and, whatever. And so, but I was just like getting lucky with these kind of opportunities and it just kind of kept growing. And then, it really was like one thing. And so much of the time though, it was like you did something and you were nice and they remembered you for the next thing. And then like that next thing begat the next thing. And it was like, a lot of things that kind of built, randomly kind of together, and it was
awesome.
Great, yeah.
But how do you? I am curious. You seem so positive, and I think I'm a positive guy too. But you go through lulls in this business as well, especially when you're trying to make rent. It's an expensive city, whatever it might be. What keeps you positive? And this is for anybody too, because in all businesses, you really go. I kind of believe now we live in a generation of like we have to pay dues, but it's. Everyone around us seems to be having the best lives ever all the time. You have a dream job. The optics of everything is like
social media.
So it's like, look at that. They're on this. They're doing my dream job, and they just pose for whatever it might be, right? So what keeps you positive or has kept you positive as you've gone?
I think, there definitely comes a point in your career, I think, where you've, I was lucky to get to a place where I'm like, okay, I've done this enough. I've had, enough things go right, enough things go wrong, but that the next thing goes right, where you kind of felt like, all right, I think I can do this.
Yeah.
And I think reaching that point is really comfortable because everybody, I think, does have a certain degree of imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Because this job really is sometimes like there's no, I went to graduate school in this. I mean, I guess there is for acting, but you're always like, but it doesn't matter. It's like, are you ready for, whatever you're doing where there's just kind of you just got to do it. And I think you do it enough. So I realized, I guess, when I left medicine, like people like, be a doctor. It's what a reliable career it is. And I was like, okay, if I stayed a doctor, I would have been because I'm betting on that career being stable.
Right.
And with entertainment, I realized you're betting on yourself.
Yeah.
And while that can be really scary because if you come up short, it's like, well, there's nobody to blame but this guy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's kind of one of those things where you're like, all right, if I go down, I'd rather go down swinging for the fences, betting on myself. And so I think like and I was just lucky, and it took a while.
Yeah.
Because there was also, this wild realization of I'm walking away from a certain career. So if there is a lull, I know people are, in my mind, people are going to be like, we told you.
Yeah.
What is this? He should have been a doctor. Look at him. He's hawking athlete's foot, which cream I did. And I had no shame about it.
Yes, you're working.
But I think it's just like you reach a point where you're like, okay, I just believe the next gig will come.
Yeah.
And listen, I am getting a little older now. And so there is is this the last job I'll ever have?
Yeah.
That's your next worry is like, is this the swan song?
No.
But it's just, and a lot of it is this kind of irrational fear you have because our careers are so fickle.
Yeah.
Where it could be like, hey, the show's killing it, but they're like, but we don't like you.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're going with someone, who's the exact same as you.
Right.
But we like them.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And so it is a fickle business, but I think you kind of console yourself going, all right, it's happened enough and I've landed the next thing that it's like, I think I'll trust that I'll land on my feet somehow.
You grow thicker skin, but you also get more confident because you've done it enough, right?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I've been here before. I've been in these lulls. The first lull of your career in entertainment feels scarier than the 10th or whatever it might be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, I will push through.
You feel good, I think, too, if like, oh, but that person hired me before.
Yeah.
So they would at least say I bet on that person once. But what's scary is when like, oh no, all those people retired. They're done.
I know. That's happening too in TV.
It's young people now. They have no idea who you are.
I know. And TV too is a different world where like, I've been at network jobs where everybody at the network, like overnight, is gone. And they were like, they used to love me, but they're not my connect anymore.
And by the way, for people who aren't in entertainment watching this, we fully acknowledge this is a ridiculous conversation. We're very fortunate to be having.
Yes. Yeah, I don't get too nitty gritty, but I think for you, because we have I do similar jobs, I'm so curious about it with you because I never talk with people who do hosting like you. Like, it's
I know,
so
so literally, this is the second interview I think I've ever done on hosting, and the first one was like 2 months ago with Barry Katz.
Oh, yeah.
And it was really, it's really fun, I guess, because, most people don't, they're not curious about hosting, but I think for people who are, like, growing up, I was like, what does Bob Barker got in there? Or Dick Enberg. But I think it's really fun to kind of talk about it and talk about, like, the things you learn over a career of doing it.
Yeah.
And the things you learn watching people who are wildly different from you that work for other people. And
I think I'm just naturally inquisitive about it. I want to know all about you, but I'm curious about that part because I understand, I've been around this business a bit too, and it's just funny. I think what I love is your energy around it. Like you just seem like you've showed up to every job. Like let's F and go.
Well, and it is like, you do jobs, and I've done jobs where you're like, that's the pay. Like that is a very, that is, that's you. You're barely eating out of the Olive Garden on this. But you're like, hey, and I think that comes with stand-up too, where like, I hate to say it, I've done a lot of shows where like 6 people showed up. You're like, well, these 6 people are going to get the best damn show I got.
Yeah.
And so it's like, when you're doing something, it's like, I'm choosing to do this, then let's bring it all. Let's do it.
I think also stand-up, I was curious about like what keeps you positive. I think that consistently doing stand-up, no matter what jobs you have, because you don't, doing clubs and stuff, you don't always make money doing comedy, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
You're working on your craft, though.
Yes, you are.
And
That's what it is.
I'm speaking.
That's why it's not sold out, Paul. That's why.
So I'm speaking more to me. Trust me. I'm not.
No. It is the same with me when I go, and sometimes I'm looking at the people in the club like, listen, I'm embarrassed too. All right.
But I think that also keeps. Stand-up is like the gym that never goes away no matter what the work is doing.
Totally. And it
really
is
great.
I always think it is that thing of, because essentially you are hosting when you're up there, right?
Yeah.
You're hosting, you're just kind of, you're the product. But it is that thing of, and that's always my approach, which obviously is kind of, consistent, whether it's stand-up or hosting or whatever, where I'm like, oh, no. I always want to feel like, hey, I'm throwing a party and I want everyone who comes to have a good time, and you're all invited. So come on, let's do this. That's my thing. Where like in comedy, if I'm ever making fun of somebody, it's gonna flip back on me. Where it's like, hey, I don't want to. My mom was always like, oh, I don't want to sit in front because they might pick on me and I would just feel terrible. I'm like, oh God, I don't want someone living in fear of that.
Right.
But I enjoy it when other people do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun also if you talk to the crowd and you could spin it where like everyone's having a good time.
And again, it's that pleaser thing, Paul, where I'd be like, oh my God, I feel so bad if someone didn't have a good time because I picked on them. God, that would just haunt me.
Has it happened to you? Like, has it happened to me where like someone like is kind of upset by something on stage?
Yeah, it was one, and I read it the wrong way. Where I said this, I thought it was a compliment, like, oh, you're the beautiful grandma. And the lady was just like, I can't believe he called me a grandma. But she'd said like her grandkids, you'd mentioned it. And she was like, I didn't want to be called grandma. And I was like, ugh.
But you have grandkids.
I know, but it was like, all right, I'm wrong.
Right.
I'm wrong.
I'm sorry.
Because it was at a charity event, so they never invited me back. You offended the sexy grandma.
You were like, that was a charity for women who don't want to appear to be aging.
I didn't read. Do your research.
No, I know you do your research.
I do.
I know that
I
about you too.
Homework.
That's good about you too, because that's also comedy related, where you have enough homework and writing done, you can have fun.
Well, that's like with Ninja. It's always like, hey, these people are coming on, and now it's like for a lot of them, we know them. You follow them on social media. Yeah. You get updates. You're checking in on them. But it is always fun, and like we're gearing up to do the Olympics from Connecticut. I'm not upset about it.
That's amazing.
Everyone's going to Paris but us.
Oh, I thought maybe you were.
No, we are not. We're doing it in Connecticut.
They have similar baguettes.
Oh, it's killing me. Because we went to Tokyo when it was shut down, and then Beijing, they're like, don't go to China, it's COVID. And we're like, we're not going to China. But then we didn't realize, and you're not going to Paris. Like, no, we want to go to China. No, we know this deal. I want to go to Beijing.
Yeah.
But so it's like I'm doing all the homework, like I've been watching the trials and things.
Cool.
And it's like, all right, we're going to tell some of these stories, and you want to know, you want to you always want to do them justice. You want to be like, this guy, Steve Jenkins. Where you're like, no, try to know their names. And
yeah, well, that's why you're a consummate professional with the hosting work. That I think has also helped you sustain it for so long. Because that goes into it. You can't just show up and be like willy nilly. Also,
so like I be Apprentice. So I did Celebrity Apprentice and I won, which nobody knows because the show was torpedoed. But it was with Schwarzenegger. And so, like, we've stayed buddies. And so he just had me host his Austrian World Summit on Climate Change from the Hofburg Palace in Vienna.
Wow.
Like, this, you go, I'm playing stand-up comedy in Atlanta one weekend where, it's in a diner. It's in a 24-hour diner that I'm doing comedy. And the next week, you're, like, in their equivalent of the White House. And you're hosting this event with Schwarzenegger and heads of state. And it's so, like, that's the thing where I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, here I am, ostensibly out there like, we're saving the earth together now, people. We're climate action
and Arnold's all happy.
And it's just like, no, you just got to go up there and, host an event. But it's really fun. And, like, so that's one where I'm like, I do my homework. And the people there notice and appreciate it. Like, you learn their name, you learn their causes, you learn about, what you're going to talk about with them. And you kind of know it. And I think people always appreciate. Because I've done interviews where people are like, so what's America's Ninja Warrior about? And you're like, oh, that's not the name, which is cool. Like, you don't know it. Yeah. Which is cool. But it's always fun when people are like, oh, I'm a huge fan. Like, I want to talk about season
Conversations
7.
are better. In general, you do your job better when you know what's going on. Though I introduced somebody. I was hosting a comedy show last night, and I got asked last minute, and the biggest comedian there, I said the name wrong. And he got on stage, and he corrected me as he was walking up. And I was like, well, to my defense, I didn't know I was going to be hosting that show, and I just did it. But I've done all the bad things too, so you feel worse about your
Billiam
job.
Burr.
Yeah,
God, how did I screw that up, Billiam?
Sorry. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it was an ego check for him. Who knows? I don't know. I mean, it was an accident.
But that is where you're like, my one job is to get your name right.
Damn it.
I didn't do my job.
I love that you're friends with Arnold, though, and I want to take a moment to celebrate that you won because you said no one knows. I knew that, and we need to just establish that you're the winner of the Celebrity Apprentice, the last season ever.
I am
which
the new
means you're
Celebrity
the only.
Apprentice, and I am the last.
Final.
So I am the last one. I was so good. They said we will cancel the show because no one could equal you.
It's like being with a girl who ends up being a lesbian.
And that was like because we shot it. We had no idea what was going to come, and we shot it. And you shoot everything up through the finale up to literally the moment where it's like who won. And we actually shot it both ways back then, just as in case, because Bret Michaels had a stroke after his season film before it aired, and they were like, "Oh my God, we have to shoot a both ways ending just in case something happens."
Jeez.
And what ended up happening was that the show became a political football, so they torpedoed it, so they didn't have a live finale. So like the one you see where I went on the show, we'd been shooting for 6 weeks. We'd just done the whole finale. We'd gone through the finale, and they're like, okay, we're just going to go both ways. And they're like, this will never air. So it's like, you win, Matt. I was like, yay. Thank you.
You kind of won, though, because you're friends with Arnold Schwarzenegger now.
That's what I say. It is because he is everything I wanted him to be and more.
Wow.
He's just the best guy.
Wow.
Like, generous to a fault, funny, and just like a salt-of-the-earth guy.
Yeah.
Like a great guy. And has his flaws, Avi.
Sure.
But has just been fantastic to me, and like a guy who like cares about his charities, actually is involved in it, and like really is someone who's not doing it for fame or for it, but he's like, I want to make a difference. I am going to make a difference. And it's like, yeah, you are. It's crazy because he has a journalist following him. And the journalist was like, I did my research. He's like, you are the most famous person living right now.
Really?
And it's bananas. Like, yeah, I'm like hanging out with him. We were in Austria, and I'm like, it's like being in heaven with Jesus.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Stopped every
But they're
second.
like, this guy, through whatever, I don't know if it's a true fact, but I was like, it's plausibly true. And it is amazing when you get to watch that up close and just see like how he's wired, like how he is someone who thrives off people.
Yeah.
In a way, like I love people, but
Yeah.
he is someone who like, at 77 is still going, traveling the world, and like can go sun up, sundown, and another 4 hours.
Wow.
And just go. And it's amazing to watch.
I also love the inspiration behind the story, and it's something we sort of touched on with your own career. It's like the business, there's lulls or whatever it might be, but like he's a guy that, they said you can't act with your accent, all these things.
Yeah.
He's the biggest icon in the world, who
What's
no
your
one
plan?
could have.
Yeah.
No one could have had that roadmap. That's what's weird about success in this, though. You can't really like say it's not like becoming a doctor on these steps.
Right.
It's like there's no rhyme or
Right,
reason.
right.
It just happens, and you have to believe in yourself, like
Yeah.
him. It's just so wild, you know.
But it's interesting because you see though, there's someone who didn't just believe in himself, who willed things into existence.
Wow.
Like just worked tirelessly. And still like that guy when he gives a speech, he will have run that speech 100 times. And we're talking like with a teleprompter
Wow.
in his hotel room. Like he works on these speeches and he works like with acting for FUBAR. I got to hear his preparation where he was like, he will do a scene 100 times before he sets foot on set to shoot it. Cause he's like, he's like, I'm not very good. I need to prepare. But he like, you see like, oh, this is why you're the best who ever was a bodybuilder. This is why you made yourself into a global movie star when you still sound like a bad guy from Saving Private Ryan. Like that accent is unbelievable.
Yeah,
you lived here for 50 years.
Yeah.
Take a voice lesson.
he can't now.
We can't, but it's like that's his thing. Like that Super Bowl ad, neighbor.
Yeah.
Like his accent is now the punchline of the #1 ad in the Super
my
Bowl.
gosh. You
It's
do
crazy.
a good impression of him too.
It's okay. Like there's a guy online, Joe Gaudette.
Yeah.
Who Brian Monarch does those videos where it's
yeah.
like him and he does the voice, and I've heard him, and I'm like, he sounds more Arnold than Arnold
Well,
does.
listen, I'm really proud. I'm happy you're bringing up Joe Gaudette because he was
He's
here.
insane.
He was here, and he gave us our biggest clip from last season. Was we called a really fancy restaurant in L.A. and Joe called as Arnold.
Yeah.
And said, I said I was the assistant. And I was like, I need a table. Hold on, let me put him on. He's like, hello. And he did the whole voice. And the woman changed her tune immediately. She was like,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, sir. It was amazing.
And
we
that's
did an
it.
old school prank.
Well,
So-
you know what's great about Arnold is he's never someone who's like, don't you know who I am? But he'll just go and be like, come on, you know you want to do this. Let's make this fun. It's going to be great. It really is amazing where he's not a strong armor. He's more like put his arm around your back like, come on. You know we're going to end up doing it. Let's have fun.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing, like seeing a guy who's got a vision and an iron will to get there.
I think it's so cool that you're tight with him because, like I said, like whatever you feel about that experience from that show, that's like the best thing you could have won.
And especially like because of who he is, like where you're like, that guy's the real deal.
Yeah.
Like, that guy walks the walk. He really does. And it's just amazing seeing someone who behind the scenes, like you're like, God, he is that guy. Like he is this eternally positive guy. And when he gets mad, he makes jokes and busts balls. And it's amazing.
I'm sure you find that though, because I know you've met a lot of people in our business too, and I love meeting people and talking shop like this as well.
Yeah.
But like, I've always found the most successful, even famous or not, but like the most successful, really roll their sleeves up and get dirty and do everything they need to do to be the best.
Yeah.
It's not like glamorous and easy ever.
No, and that's, you
know
see
what I mean?
Jay Leno, like still going to the Comedy and Magic Club every week.
Yeah.
And doing it where it's like, no. Like I never want to lose your skill. It's me working in my mediocre. Oh, Sean Connery is coming next.
Wait, please do more Leno because I do a terrible Leno. Let's just talk with Leno for 30 seconds.
I about like everything. Maybe. That's it. It sucks.
I got Matt here. The thing about Matt is, Matt,
that's good. You're going up and down.
The thing I want to learn about Leno is you got to go down a little bit. When you go
Oh, that's
down.
good.
I don't do it well.
Oh, yeah.
But I like that he goes down.
Well, that's, it's that thing of, I've always heard this, like, what ends up happening is you're not doing an impression of the person, you're doing an impression of someone else's impression.
Right.
Like, everyone, when they do George H.W. Bush,
Dana Carvey.
it's Dana Carvey's.
Not gonna
1,000
do it.
points a lot. Not
gonna do
That's
it.
what they're doing. It's Dana Carvey. It's funny.
And it's a character. I've talked to Daryl Hammond before, who's like, really such an expert from SNL on this. And he always said how you caricature the voice, and he talked about Dana too. You got to write the material that's funny and memorable. That's something they never said.
Yes.
That's what sticks.
That's what's really good.
The stuff that sticks is the comedy.
Yes.
And it's not, because there's people who could sound just like this. Joe's great at this too.
Yeah.
But when you add like kind of crazy stuff to them, it makes it so memorable.
Jay Moore is really good at that with like Tracy Morgan or when he does Colin Quinn. He's like, oh, is this not? That sounds like one of Colin's. You want to say? Let me take you through the strings. Like, I love Jay Moore. I truly enjoy Jay Moore.
Me too.
Like when he did Sports Talk or filled in for Rome, he had his own show for a while. I love listening to it because I'm like, that guy has a machine gun of a mind.
Oh yeah, and he's probably one of the best impressionists you don't realize. He does the best Pesci I've ever heard. Joe Pesci. He does Joe
and
Pesci.
Christopher Walken, like his
Everybody,
Walken
and he has stories about him.
style.
You do it. I didn't know this about you, but you're busting out a lot of good impressions.
No, I can do a line of someone else's impression,
But they're good.
Thank you. It's it drives me crazy though when you see those people. And what's really cool is when they do a little bit of the face morph with the character. Where you're like, oh my god, it looks like Keanu, or like seeing Jim Carrey when he would morph his face into Clint Eastwood. You're like, that looks. Like, I see why they chose him for the mask. Like, his face was so plastic.
Do you have a go-to though that you really enjoy, like you do with your friends or you do on stage sometimes? That's like your go-to that you could give us. Right
Schwarzenegger now.
Oh, of course.
I mean, it's cliche, you know.
No, it's not. You're friends with him. You got the cred.
I know, but and it's so funny because they're like, Izzy, go out there and make fun of me. And it's him. That's probably the only one I really do well.
Have you thought about? Do you write them into stand up?
I do the Schwarzenegger stuff like that. That's sometimes I'll close with the bit of like because I went to a Christmas party and it was Schwarzenegger and Stallone there, and it's probably my most prized photo is me with Arnold and Sly, and they're in like Armani suits and I'm in a Buddy the Elf sweater, and I'm like, I don't care because this is with the guys. That's up in my office. Like that is framed like head level. I turn and it's like, there they are, the guys.
You and the guys.
I mean, that would have replaced like my Farrah Fawcett hot tub poster. Like that's the level of this picture to me.
It's Rambo, Terminator, and whatever your action guy name would be, whatever.
Yeah.
Matty.
Mr. Not Incredible. If they did a live action, I'd be like, come on, give it to me. I got a big forehead.
Oh my God, you could totally be.
I know, I would. Craig T. Nelson, he'd be good to do. You'd have to do a Craig T. Nelson impression.
You got
They'd probably use Putty. They'd probably use Patrick Warburton.
Oh, I don't know. You would be great doing more animation.
So Akbar came up with an idea. He's king of the internet. Came up with a sketch where he was Frozone, Samuel L. Jackson, and I was Mr. Incredible. He got us suits, Paul, like incredibly professional suits. And we did a sketch, and he's like, me eating a ghost chip, 7 million views. Us with this, ridiculous production budget as The Incredibles, 42 views.
Right.
He's like, people don't care about like the production value. They just want like something honest, be funny. But I got to keep the suit.
Well, if you have the suit, maybe the switch is for social media is like you got to just like go to Ralph's.
I should just start doing it.
You start like going in public.
Character and demand Pixar go. We got to do it. This was his campaign. Like
Matt Iseman, he's been all over LA in the Mr. Incredible.
They call
suit.
him Mr. Incredible.
He's always wearing it. I saw him at the gym.
Someone told me, they do that, and then they'd cast Danny DeVito instead of you. Like,
That would be so great. Is there dream stuff for you now that you've been able to carve this path?
Being killed in a movie by Arnold would be one.
Oh, you could do that.
And then have a punchline after it. Like that wasn't kosher. Like I was a big ham or something. Something dumb like that. But it'd be, kind of funny. I don't know. I would love. Listen. An action movie would have been my dream.
I can see you doing that.
I have arthritis, so I'd be gimping along.
Listen,
I gotta be wounded.
They don't do. I've talked to some action stars. They don't really do them. Really? They don't do them as much as you think. You'd be fine.
Yeah.
You just do all the fancy stuff.
Well, they can do it with AI.
You're
now.
good.
Anyway,
You're
like
good.
A ninja.
You got the face.
That would be a blast. You know what I would love to do though is I love live TV, like a weekly live show on whatever it is. I just think like there's just something fun about you go out and it's like okay, well we practiced or whatever, but here we go.
Me too. I love live.
It's so great
because it's like stand up, but it's on TV.
You got to make it work.
You have to make it work and no editing and no overthinking.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna take that again. You can't.
Yeah.
I love live.
Yeah.
And it's a dying breed. I mean, live besides the sports shows. There's really not much live. The award shows, like I can see you doing award shows. So it's a scary gig.
Oh yeah, I've hosted the reality awards once, and it went pretty well.
Nice,
because I knew to pander to the crowd.
Yeah.
Because that's what you got to do.
Yeah.
Because award show crowds, worst crowds. Everyone's just there going, "Is it me yet? No.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go on Twitter.
Yeah.
Just let me know when it's about me." Which is what you do.
Isn't it funny? Reality stars are probably the biggest divas in the business now, based about like. No, you're not. No, you're celebrity apprentice. I don't see you as a reality star.
No, Pump your brakes, Iseman. Nobody's talking about you on Watch What
you're a
Happens
star.
Live.
I'm saying you're above reality.
Oh,
to me.
no.
I'm saying
Listen, I love Big Brother. It's so funny how like and my buddy's co-EP, so I've been to like some of the finale episodes, and it's like they come out and I'm like, oh my God, like there she is, Gina. Like I've been watching her for 3 months.
Yeah.
And they're just like, what are you talking about? I've been trapped in here. I don't know. He's like, oh, you're the best.
You're big. Yeah.
But it's so funny, like how I get so into some of the reality TV.
Yeah.
My fiance has us into like Married at First Sight and Love is
All
Blind.
those, yeah.
And Love is Blind was just filming in my hometown of Denver.
Oh, wow.
We had a buddy who was going out and we're like, no, don't tell us. We don't want to know. Don't ruin the season. But it's so fun. I think that good reality TV really is that sense of sitting at home with a blanket pulled over you while someone does something that you would never think of doing.
Yeah, right.
Be it going on Ninja Warrior in a Speedo or going on one of these shows where it's like everybody who's watching knows what's going on and you look like an idiot right now.
What the heck?
You're getting blindsided.
Yeah. No, competition reality is one thing. I mean, like when you follow families around. I mean, I'm fine with families, but like I've met a lot of housewives. I'm just saying there's a different breed of reality that are operate at a different level around the business.
The scripted reality.
Yeah, those. Not competition.
God, it's amazing. I mean, it's like wrestling. It's like wrestling.
Yeah, it's wrestling.
Oh, damn it, it's still real to me.
It's real. Well, it's real to the fans, too, and I'm not knocking anybody because they're all doing great and they're watched and whatever.
It's so incredible how, like, shows like The Real Housewives, like, have and become, like, cultural icons.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's been amazing watching them and like, getting to know, like, I know Kyle Richards, a little bit, and Heather Dubrow a little bit, and they're just wonderful people, but I'm like, that takes real courage to, like, lay your family
it's a whole
out there when hey, getting along and having things go well is boring TV. So we're going to look for the worst possible moments.
Yeah.
Roll.
I guess it would be fun if I was ever on one of those, like to just cause drama for the sake of it to be interesting. Like
Chael Sonnen did that on Celebrity Apprentice. He was the only one, like he was like sabotaging.
Just
He's
to
like,
do it.
guys, this is what they want. I'm like, but it's against the rules, Chael. You're gonna get caught.
It hurts.
Oh, I was such a whatever. I was but it was interesting. And Chael's like, I know my role. I'm the bad guy.
You got to be the bad guy.
I was like, Billie Eilish comes in with the bad.
Yeah, you're like, I'm the bad guy.
I'm the bad guy.
He's the bad guy.
He's great.
That's funny, man. It's funny being in the world we're in, but also like, you're engaged. I do want to know, like, I'm curious when you go home because you have a lot of energy. When you go home.
Oh, she talks.
More than you?
Oh my God, she's amazing.
You met your match.
I'm actually, listen. Obviously, you turn it on when you're.
Yeah, we're talking. Yeah,
when I can shut up in a conversation,
Yeah.
And my fiance loves to talk, and she's a criminal defense attorney, so a lot of times she's talking to people. She's like, I don't know that I have a lot in common with this person who's up for triple homicide, and so she gets such a kick, and just loves to tell me about her day. And what's going on, and she's great. She's from South Carolina, and so she's much funnier than I am. So I made her take a stand-up class.
No way.
Because I'm like, you speak in stories. You're very funny. And she did it. And like when I was headlining in Atlanta, she came out and she emceed. And it was great. And she's like, I don't want to do it, but that was fun. And I'm like, great. Like you're great at it. So it's fun because she's got a lot of energy like me and like gets excited for things.
I mean, I think we need people. I'm similar. I got a lot of energy a lot of the time too.
Yeah.
I feel like finally somebody more energized than me, which is nice. I feel like
my second one.
No, but I feel good about it today.
Yeah.
I'm like, you could just. It's almost like we're doing a live show. I don't have to worry if I ever co-host.
Right.
I'm like, Matt's here. Just cut the mat.
Yeah,
it's easy.
Here's the ball. Go juggle. Yeah. It's so funny too. Like I'm sure you're the same way. Like anytime I go to a show and it's like an opening act and nobody's paying attention, they're like, "How you doing?" I'm the one who's like, "Good. We're good. I hear you. I know what it's like."
Yeah. I know. I'm the same when a stand-up goes.
My fiance's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, I need it. I'm a lifeline. All right.
Same with when a comic's like, anybody married and nobody applauses, but I'm there. I'm like, yeah. And then they start doing. I'm like, please don't do crowd work to me. They're like, oh, it's Paul. Like they'll be disappointed if it's a friend. They're like, oh, it's Paul. Yeah. But you know what? I'm in a way I relate to the people pleasing too because I'm very much that way in this business too. We want to make people feel good.
We chose this business for a reason.
Yeah, I want people to laugh and have fun. Why not?
And that's what's fun with Ninja is again, it's like we get to, I've done shows where you not take shots, but it would be pitted or like there'd be a Us Versus Them or something, and I'm like, it's much more fun where it's like, no, we're pulling for all of you.
Yeah.
Because I'm not like I've tried doing a roast. I did a roast of Dennis Rodman, and thank God it wasn't recorded because I stink at roast.
Really?
Because I was like, you're ugly. I mean, you're not really. You're not. I don't know you. I feel bad doing this now. It was so. I just bombed. I bombed in front of all my friends. It's bad when they're like, ooh, tough crowd. You're like, no.
Because you feel bad.
Because I feel bad like doing a roast where I'm like, I don't want to say something that would actually be mean because I think they think I'd mean it. And you're like, no, it's a roast, dummy.
Yeah.
Say roast jokes, but it's just like, oh no.
So if I asked you to insult me right now, honestly, you couldn't do it?
No, you're too handsome. What can I insult, right?
That's a nice quality, man.
I know, but it is. My buddy's like, oh, you're such a pussy. Which I guess, it is, but
no, it's good.
It's why I've chosen this job.
It's good. It's weird because there's a fine line with roasting. Like, I'm from Jersey, so like the way I show love with my buddies.
With your buddies.
It's more biting.
Yes. When you're like, you've known me for 30 years.
You don't know Dennis Rodman like your buddies.
So this is what I always say. Like, that's why I felt like those, when Rickles and the Rat Pack, when they're busting on each other, you're like, hey, they've been doing this for decades.
Yeah.
They're going to do it decades more. It's friends doing it. But when you watch some of these roasts, you're like, oh, these people don't know this person. And they're up there saying the worst possible things. And it's always that thing of like, then you're like, hey, it's just, this is the show. You're like, yeah, it's different if you know someone. And that's why like they did a roast of James Franco. And it was, Rogan and Jonah Hill. And you're like, oh, these guys are buds. And Michael Cera. So they knew him. So that when it's like, okay, this is what a roast is supposed to be. Friends needling friends.
You're right. It's become more of a sport in this generation. Also, like there's a Comedy Store residency where it's a roast. Where
and it's great. It's great. It's a tremendous skill.
But it's not how the old ones were. Because you're right. They were all friends. Like I always think about the clip of Rickles at the Reagan inauguration because he went up and did Reagan's inauguration.
Yeah.
And he knew Reagan. And he's the new president. And he went up there and absolutely destroyed him. But it was, to your point, you could tell he loved the guy and he was friends with him.
And you could see Reagan laughing.
And Reagan was like, wow, because it was only Rickles who knew him already. But if it was somebody who just wrote jokes, it would have been a different thing.
Well, we're going to have to nuke him.
I knew you were going to bust out a Reagan.
I know.
I love you.
You remember Rappin' Ronnie? How old are you? You're probably
I know. Yeah.
That was so bad.
Yeah. You do a lot of, you do a lot of good voices. I want to hear more.
Thank you. Wow, no one's ever said that. My fiance is always like, "Shut up with your lame impressions."
No, they're really good.
Shut up.
Shut up. You do Connor?
I have a particular set of skills. I did Liam Neeson once in a sketch show. Very mediocre, but I loved it.
Let's hear it.
Taken. No, I mean that was it. So see, like now when you're like, no, do it and like let people judge it. It's like, no.
It already happened.
I know. They're rewinding. We used to do voicemail messages.
Nice.
In college, and like till my buddy's mom was like, "It's so wasteful." I was like, I know what you're thinking. Did the phone ring 6 times or only 5? Well, being this is an answering machine and it's made for answering, you got to ask yourself a question. Am I going to leave a message? Well, are you? Punk. Like I did the Clint Eastwood thing.
So
like,
good.
No one is home. No one. But you just don't hang up the phone. You leave a message. Wasn't my call. You called me. I didn't call you. And I did what I had to do to be here. But then I wasn't here. Do the whole Rambo thing. And I still have them somewhere.
Oh, that's so good. I love that.
Oh my God. I was so proud of those. It was so clear that I needed to go do something in entertainment.
You're
like that's wasted as a doctor.
Yeah, you're doing.
Nothing is over, but with your prognosis, it may be over very soon.
I mean, you would have been a very entertaining doctor if you're just like doing cancer patients,
like
going in doing Arnold.
You're terminated. I know, it's awful. I know,
dude. I love interviewing you. I knew you'd find the tag. I want to do shows with you. You find the joke faster than me. You got it. That was so nice. That's hilarious.
That's terminated. Great. Yeah.
Oh God. That's funny.
No, yeah. I mean, it's so ridiculous. Like, obviously, you can tell we love our jobs. It's so funny. Like, this is work.
Yeah.
And we're talking about work.
It's
like, we're sitting here hanging out.
I know. And also, I want to say, personality-wise, because I didn't know you in person, the fact that you came in here, like, means the world to me because I look up to you. I love what you do.
Oh, man,
I'm
thank
such
you.
a fan of your work. Not everybody says yes. So I'm just so glad. Not only yes, by the way, to know Matt's personality is real, like, off camera. I DM'd you, like, you should come on the podcast. I think you said, like, hell yeah.
Hell's yes.
You were like, yeah. I was like, he is that guy all the time. That's like, it's refreshing,
but
man.
It's, it is. It's like, it really is fun to get to come and talk about the entertainment stuff because it is like it's another opportunity for like a little gratitude.
Yeah.
Just to be like, I'm getting married in September, and like my fiance, like you're going through all this planning and you're spending, it's a ridiculous amount of money. It's so stupid.
Yeah.
But you're also like, all right, if we're not enjoying this, like what's the point? Like,
Right.
Let's remember, like, just let's enjoy this, because it's so easy to get caught up in things. And you know, in our business, it's very easy to be like, oh, Seacrest got another job. That son of a. But it's like, all right, but you know, hey, we're sitting here like getting to talk about hosting and comedy and stuff in the middle of the day.
It's the best.
It's so fun.
Is.
I get so excited that we get to do this stuff, that people still, sometimes care what we say.
Yeah, it's a dream, man. And honestly, you have such a fresh perspective for someone who's so successful, because you can lose it. And life is short. And if you don't have gratitude, you don't have real things around you to care about, you're going to be a jerk. Yeah. Honestly. That's what it comes down to over time.
And it's interesting, like, you've been out here enough where you've seen some jerks get humbled.
Yeah.
And kind of reinvent. And it's really nice when they kind of reinvent themselves and they're like, you know what? And not that you ever want, someone to be humbled or whatever, but I think when you see like this business, everybody gets humbled in this. It's like golf. Like,
listen, Frank Sinatra was the biggest pop star in the world, and then no one cared who he was for 20 years. 10 years, however long it was. You know that, the first Teen Idol. Everyone goes through that. Yeah. So you have to like just keep going.
We're like Sinatra.
Yeah, that's what my
now
point
we're in
is.
our old Blue Eyes phase.
Yeah,
we're
gonna
coming
go
back around.
We get Howard Cosell to announce our concert.
You know what's crazy is you're going to be able to do that. Like, I want AI. Can you have Howard Cosell announce my birthday party?
Do you know that you're a good candidate for AI because of how much footage view there is? Yeah, people like you are the.
Here's my AI. He's loud. Okay, can you turn it down? No.
I endorse this person for this thing, whatever it is. Arnold too. Everybody's been recorded as much as us and people who do TV and stuff. I mean, Rogan. A lot of people have already done it. It's weird.
Yeah,
it's weird.
Like uploading our consciousness.
It's odd.
Especially if you've done something personal like a podcast.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, you've told your stories and things, and now.
Well, actually, I hate to tell you, but they hired me to just get more footage. That's why all these questions are catered for AI.
I know.
You over the
but part of me is like, I want to see what an AI me would do.
Yeah, what would it do? Yeah.
Let's see if I could get in shape. What would that be like?
It would not have the heart that you have. It would have the comedy. That's what we need.
You got to be Rudy deep down. Everyone loves Rudy.
No one wants to see an AI comedy show, at least not in our generation.
I know.
Might be my kids. I don't know. That's scary, right? Well, dude, I love talking with you. I could talk to you all day. Before you go, I do want to try something because I thought of something funny.
Let's do it.
I just want for me, I like playing games here and there. You're somebody I feel like can make anything sound exciting, like with your job, obviously with Ninja. So I'm going to do the most mundane thing I could think of. Okay. I just want people to really see how good Matt Iseman is, not just at his job, but his energy.
I better not bomb.
I'm going to, I think I'm just going to take my shoes off and put them back on and then tie them. And this is not an exciting activity. Right?
At the end of the day, watching it here, what kind of flexibility does he have, folks? Those shoes, very smelly. If they come off, this whole room could be in jeopardy. And he's got it off, ladies and gentlemen. Taking an inhale. You can see the odors coming off of it. This guy looking confident in that one sock. It's going right back on, ladies and gentlemen. The scent proving to be just too much. Does he remember the bunny going through the valley? Let us see those ears, Bugs, hopping all the way. He's done it. The shoe is tied. This is it. Like, this is my fiance's like, stop doing that. I can't come when you do that. That was a little dirty there.
Matt Iseman, dude, that's why you're a professional. That's why you're amazing. That was really good. See, you turned it on.
I've got one level. See, I needed to get a little intimate there, but that sock sure was looking.
Dude, thanks for coming on.
No, my pleasure, man.
This was so fun. Keep up all the great work. Keep in touch and make sure. Oh, last thing is, I want people to come see you. Are you going to be live anytime soon or anything you can promote?
The wedding and everything. No.
Go crash his wedding.
Go crash my wedding. No, we're doing the Olympics. We'll be a Peacock.
Right,
Peacock. It'll be like July 26th, August 11th. I'm doing the Gold Zone with Andrew Siciliano and Scott Hansen.
That's so cool.
All the live sports on Peacock. Turn on the Gold Zone. We'll take you where the action is.
Can't wait to see you. And actually, you're doing my job for me at this whole episode because you reminded me. Our sponsor, Barefoot Dreams, makes all the comfy products. I told them you were coming.
So soft.
I told them you were coming.
No,
and I said I actually thought
you were.
I thought you were going to the Olympics. but because you're going to be...
We're going to Connecticut.
But you know what? Those studios get really cold
Yes,
like this
they do.
one. So we have a little special custom Team USA Barefoot Dreams gift
No!
for you. You got to bring us to Connecticut for the Olympics. Check it out. Here's what's funny about this. I said, give him something that kind of some swag he could wear. And literally what they brought you is... It's a comfy, almost like
This is like a
Snuggie.
cardigan.
No, it's like a Snuggie level hoodie thing.
Wow.
But take a look at that. It's nice.
What?
Look at that. Team USA.
Damn, this is going
I don't know what it is. It's like,
going with me all the way to Connecticut.
I actually
it's
said today, I was like,
incredible.
it's kind of like Rocky's robe a little bit, right?
Shamrock meats.
Yeah, that's what you get, man.
This
Thank
is
you for
awesome,
coming.
Barefoot Dreams. Thank you.
No, bring it with you for the Olympics, and thank you for being here. Follow Matt everywhere on social media, guys. We'll be back next week. See ya. Bye, everybody. Yes, as you saw, this episode is brought to you by Barefoot Dreams. You can get that Team USA robe, which you just saw Matt get, and everything else at barefootdreams.com. I want to implore you to check them out because what I know now for my life, having them around my house and my studio, is I'm cozy 24/7. They made a proprietary fabric called Cozy Chic Fabric. It's on everything. And it's not just that fabric. They make things for the house. They're getting into furniture now. They have candles. It's just like all the decor and all the comfiness you can have around your house and wear, they make. They make clothes. They have different things, the blankets, the pillows. They're all over my studio. They're all over my house. Check them out. And don't forget, put in the promo code PAPA15 for 15% off your first purchase at barefootdreams.com.